Welcome to Marion McCorvey Experience Over Expectations podcast, which you can find on YouTube, Substack, and any place you find your podcasts. Be sure to subscribe today.
Hello, I'm Mary McCorvey, and this is Experience Over Expectation, where we invite you to let go of the grand plan and live on your terms. That book can be obtained anywhere you get your books, or especially on Amazon. It's very, very easy. I encourage you to pick it up, and I'm not objective because it's my book. But we're actually going to be talking with an author today of another book called Don't Say Crazy to Me. Here it is. Take a look. Marion Hoffman Koenig. And the conversation today, I've been so looking forward, Marion, because it's really a memoir lover's dream and also a little bit of a spiritual gym workout.
Agreed.
Memoir is always funny, always brave, and absolutely determined to do something bold with the biggest thing most of us spend our time avoiding, and that is death. This book starts out with a child's eye view where grief and magic sit at the same kitchen table. And then it grows up, as we all do, into a deeper understanding of love and loss and what it means to keep going. It's set against a jam-packed, sharp-edged, sometimes otherworldly view through 1980s New York City, with brushes against bold-faced names and world historical moments that give the whole thing a poetic time capsule kind of glow. And at the heart of it is a question that hits like a bell you can't unhear. Can death be morphed into life? And just as provocatively, can loss be shaped into kindness? And Marion, I'm so glad that you joined us today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
I am very looking forward. Thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. I have to ask you before we get started, I have to ask you about the beautiful spider pen that you have on your jacket.
Yes, this was given to me as a gift by my beautiful daughter, and it represents mothers because a spider dies after she gives birth to her children. That's pretty the ultimate mother.
I wouldn't say so.
But gift from my daughter, yes, I always wear it. The other magical thing I always wear is this.
A bracelet?
This is the bracelet my mother gifted me when I was 21, 2 years ago. When she gifted it to me, she said she put a spell on it. And in the book, you'll see she certainly did, or
Yes.
it seemed that way.
Yes. A positive spell.
Positive spell. Good
Yeah.
spell.
Well, tell us what inspired you to write this book. Don't Say Crazy to Me.
Okay. Who I am today is a mental health advocate. That was clearly going to be my path. But I didn't realize who I was back in my childhood and youth. And I didn't realize how, due to my circumstances in my home, loving home, it's so amazing that in a fully loving home, loving mother, fabulous, tragedy can hit. And I was filled up like a Macy's Day balloon with empathy. At 11, I had no idea what empathy was. I had no idea what a mental health advocate was, but I was one. So I was a mental health advocate at 11. My brother had tried to commit suicide at 13. I was 11. I was a real toughie Maruno and stuck up for him if neighbors gossiped. So that was the beginning without my knowledge. I'm not sure how deep you want me to get into the book, but I would like to share, because I think I have a great conversation between me as the author and the person that experienced it. And boy, Mary, you know about experience.
I do.
Yes. So being someone that experienced empathy before she knew what to do with it, I can now, through therapy, yes, I am in therapy. I recommend it for everyone. I'd like to share with you a positive example and a negative example of empathy. personally, if that's
Sure.
okay with you.
Of course. Go for it.
Okay. So, positive empathy. That's made me a creator and an inventor. I observe, and my stammer as a child still exists with me sometimes. And that made me a quiet child and a great observer. So I used that, I invented something called the Madeline. And that, how do I say it? That was because I saw people in the gym working out, absolutely hurting themselves, going into positions that shouldn't be a human body. So I created a grid system, and now they have lesser, if they use the grid system, they have lesser chance of injury. So that's the positive side. The negative side of empathy, which I've only had kind of a breakthrough lately, is I'm looking at notes now and then because I don't want to say something that upsets anyone.
Oh
Okay.
my goodness. And you look at your notes all you want.
Oh, thank you. See,
You're
that's
very,
empathetic.
in a positive way.
Yay. Yes. Okay. So the negative way was, and I apologize to my daughter to this day, soft-hearted beauty that she is. Growing up, I was a great mom. I did everything I wanted to do to love her, to read with her, to teach her, to scrumptious her. But when I was on the streets with my little daughter, if I saw a fight, teenagers or grown men, I would run toward the fight to stop it. I couldn't handle pain. I couldn't see pain. So I ran in like a banshee. Yes, many times it worked well. Screaming like a banshee, by the way, helps a lot with many traumatic situations. But there was my little daughter watching me. So what I realized, I thought I was teaching her how to be brave. What I was teaching her was not to recognize risk.
I get that.
Yeah, so that's something, yes, I get to apologize all the time about.
I'm sure that she's long since forgiven you. So I have a friend and she lives in Denver. And she said, Mary, I'm an empath. And I believe that I know what that means, right? You also describe yourself as empathetic. So when someone puts a label on something called an empath, what does that mean to the person, such as yourself? Is a characterization a diagnosis? Is the diagnosis okay? I'm just keen to know that.
Okay, so it's two parts. One is I was 5 years ago diagnosed, finally, somebody recognized it. Thank you, Mount Sinai. They called me an empath. That's what their diagnosis was. And it didn't sound like a bad thing to be. But when I went into therapy to talk about my empathetic ways, I realized that what I just explained to you, it has positive and negative. Empathy, to be an empath means you feel the other person's pain or joy as if it was your own.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's pretty exhausting.
It is pretty exhausting, I can imagine.
Even going into a cocktail party, I'll walk in and be myself and get that first drink, enjoy people or pat people or hug people. I'm a big hugger. And then I'll see someone standing like a wallflower, or I'll see two people that I know. They might be whispering, they might have smiles smacked on their face, but they're arguing. And I feel that and I take it in. Now, I try not to go toward them, but I do feel it. So sometimes, even at a fun thing like a cocktail party, I will excuse myself to the hostess and walk outside, take a walk, take some air, and go back in like going onto a football field.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's been personally to me. And I'm discovering more every day. I'm still trying to learn to control it. When I see physical fight on the street, I'm still trying to say, stop, look, what can you do to help them besides running in And yeah, call 911, do other things. So I'm learning to say stop.
Well, I'm thinking of another friend who is an empath, and she's been diagnosed as an empath, and she has spent years in the milieu of a life with misery because she sees suffering and or a particular situation with someone and feels it personally. And so, as a mental health advocate, I'm asking you, can do you believe that the feeling of helping someone or absolutely having to help someone and then doing something and like you say screaming like a banshee can break up a distract or something, right? Can that feeling be addictive?
Be what?
Addictive.
Oh, addictive. I haven't thought about that, Mary. But I can say that it can be controlled. It
That's
can,
good to know.
yes, there are grounding. I received from my psychiatrist a list of grounding techniques, and they help you say stop. And they help you say, who am I? I'm an older broad. Do I really need to stop fighting teenagers? No, I need to call 911. I failed at that only a couple of months ago, but you keep trying. But there is a thing called square breathing that I use a lot now, and it helps a lot.
Can you describe it for us?
Sure. It's you picture a square in front of you. And then after I do this, I'll tell you my square. So picture a square. Hold your breath before the count of 4 as you go across the top of the square. Breathe in to the count of 4 across the top. Hold it going down 4. Let it out going down across 4. Just breathe normally for the next 4. And that's the square you visualize. Did you see anything in front of you, Mary? Could you see?
I saw a square.
You saw a regular
I saw a square box, an empty square box, but I visualized my traversing that box, but there was nothing in the box.
Good. Okay. So you can fill it with all sorts of good things.
Yeah, I can. I just realized that.
My square is no box. It's lines. And for whatever reason, the top is gold, the side is red, the bottom is black, and the other one, I don't know, is air. I have no idea. That's what came to me the first time. And somehow it sticks with me. And whatever gets you through, that's what you use. And that's a very good one.
Well, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, but so back to your question, empathy can be controlled. Finding why you're an empath is very important, which I didn't agree. I disagreed with all the doctors. But a few weeks ago, I had what's called a breakthrough. Never understood that word. Always thought it was a bit of, I don't know, imagination. But it was a breakthrough. And what it made me realize when exactly I started taking risks, not trusting my instinct. And then I took too many risks. Now that I recognize that, I have to tell you, I'm actually breathing easier because of it. So your friends, they have choices. Get the grounding sheet and keep going to therapy and find the source of the problem.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Well, I would like to go back to what you were saying about the square and your description of your square. And you described it as being gold on one side and another color on another side. And what occurred to me is how you have really developed in your lifetime as an artist. Tell us more about that.
Yes, well, I would have to say, and it's in the book, that all I wanted to do as a child and young woman was dance. Many times in class when I should have been studying history, my feet were moving into a certain direction. I I never stopped. But since I wasn't able to do that, I started painting. In fact, funny enough, I can remember at 4 years old, I did a coloring of a pink bear with red paws. And I remember my sister, who was a misery, making fun of it. And so it shut me down. But in my 20s, I started painting again. I had a one-woman show, if I may say that. I had a one-woman art show at the St. James Club in London.
Congratulations.
Which was amazing moment.
Let's switch up a little bit and talk about the fast pace of New York life in the 1980s when you grew up. And what impact did that have on you as you're in a loving family, but your brother has mental illness and tried to commit suicide and ultimately did, unfortunately, achieve that goal, if you can call it a goal. Tell us what it was like in 1980s and what impact that had on you as a child.
Well, I wasn't a child. I was a young woman. It was great. It actually impacted me positively. The most wonderful time of that was myself as a single mother with my 3-year-old, Erica, and I managed to somehow get a job working for Benny Goodman.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, as an advanced person, and being around music with my dancing feet, I was in heaven. And he was a gentleman. I think at moments I could have felt more for him because he just was like the eternal father. He was just wonderful to me and to my daughter. So then the 80s for me, the early 80s for me were fabulous. The pace of the city helped me forget some of my very close problems. They helped me have energy. New York City is energy personified.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it was really then. And I loved it. I loved every minute of it. Through that job, I got to meet Woody Allen, who still remains one of my hilarious comedians. I know a lot of people, I don't want to talk about him personally. As a pro, he's tremendous. And because my book, I experienced so many different sorts of death. You know, there's the death of a person, the disappearance of maybe a foster sibling, the end of a relationship, my first loving relationship. Those are all forms of death. And death, I'm obviously not too afraid of these days. It is part of life. It's a silly comment, but it is. But Woody Allen's statement and my sense of humor fit. My favorite is, I have nothing against death. I just don't want to be there when it happens. I like Woody Allen for that. And for all the magic in my book, people say, oh, there's magic. And I said, yeah. And then I think of another word, miracle. And Einstein, who is one of my heroes, said, either everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. And that says a lot for me, for my book. Where were we, Mary?
We were talking about the 1980s of New York, but I think that you covered that pretty well. And you live in New York now.
Yeah.
So you love the city, and the time that you spent away in London, you went to a big city, so you are definitely a city dweller.
Actually, at the end of this book, I land in Heathrow Airport, correct? But I actually spend a year in Wiltshire countryside, living in a farm laborer's cottage. And that's my sequel. So it was pretty extraordinary moment in my life. And I treat everything as a moment. A moment, everyone thinks a moment is quick, but a moment could be a year.
Sure.
And I think that's my love of Einstein's theories, where time is relevant. And I don't think people read my book and say, oh, you had a lot of pain in your life. I didn't know that at the time, most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
I was just living.
Yes,
Right? Do you find that?
I
You've
do.
had wild experiences, lady, right?
I've had a few, yes.
Yeah.
And, at the time that you are going through the experience, especially if it's painful, one tends to just, deal with it, manage the pain or manage the situation or the crisis or the chaos or whatever it is. And it's only on the other side that we find some perspective and concept of the whole thing, which you had done absolutely beautifully in this book. Don't say crazy to me. What do you want people to walk away from this book having experienced with you on their reader's journey?
Yeah. One is that the word crazy sometimes is thrown about, and it's really just because one person does not understand a thing or a person. And they just say, oh, you're crazy. So the word crazy is used too much. I'm not sure if it should be used at all, but I want to look at something. I've come to let you know my memoir, even though it's quirky, fast paced.
And full of comedy, I have to add.
Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Mhm.
I think that's important. Yes, which is why I mentioned Woody Allen. Death and humor are pretty good to put in one sentence. What do I want I don't know. I have a heroes list. Now, in the book, I had my hero, my imaginary figure, my hallucination, or the real thing was Archangel Azrael.
Yes, I was going to ask you about him.
Yeah, he seemed to appear to me as a child. I was only 6 at my dad's coffin. And he takes on a whole life of himself throughout my life in that book. He hung in there for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why we have imaginary friends. There's nothing wrong with it. That's what I learned. You need help, whether it's holding a cat and petting it, whether it's walking a dog like you, it's all helpful. It's all wonderful. So I have a heroes list now, and that kind of replaces my archangel certain ways. Benjamin Ferencz for peace, Jane Goodall and David Attenborough for animals, my daughter for putting up with me, and someone very special I met. It was extraordinary. Peter Nash, paranoid schizophrenic, as was my brother, lived his whole life at Princeton because he was brilliant, like my brother. But he was so brilliant, he was able to talk to his voices in his head. I walked up steps with him, and he would talk to them, and he would say, no, not you now. I don't have time for you now. I'm with Marion. And that's pretty amazing, right?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So he is one of my heroes to prove that we are all the same, whether you have a problem mentally, physically, any kind of disability, an addiction, we're still all exactly the same. No one's better than anyone. Tough thing to say right now in this kooky world we're living in. But if my readers want to talk to me, contact me about the book, in the front, under the copyright page, is my email. You are all welcome to call me, to email me to start with, and talk about anything you'd like. Hopefully clean.
Yes, let's not have any dirty emails. You are also on LinkedIn. Are you on social media as well?
I'm on Instagram, just started that. I admit that I have no idea sometimes what I'm doing. I just do. I'm on Facebook. I definitely don't get that. I apologize, Facebook. So I'm trying. I am on social media. Please contact me there. Please reach out. Please message me. But just know that if you grab this book, you're going to have fun reading it.
Yeah, you
Right?
certainly am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have fun reading it. And yes, it's poetic. And yes, there's tough points, but it's much more than about death. It's more about resilience. If I could be resilient anyone can be resilient. And that's how I feel. I really do. May I say one thing? Do we have time?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Okay. Like I said, I'm working on the other thing about empathy. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm switching. I'm working on the sequel to this book, but I'm also working on, I said, as I observed and experienced something in this last year that Mary, you experienced with me, was one of our dear friends was diagnosed with dementia. And I'm trying to get this right. During that time, I had a real battle with empathy. And I think in the end I won, because here's the thing that an empath should know. You can accomplish what you want to for the person in trouble without losing yourself. That is important to know.
It is, and I also wanted to put a little more color into it for the listeners and the viewers, and that is that there were three of us in New York that worked with our friend to have her relocated to Los Angeles. And that took about 6 weeks. And it took about 6 weeks of relentless work. And so you not only helped doing that, were a key person in helping our friend, but throughout that 6 week period, you were presented again and again and again with situations that would challenge an empath. And you were beautiful in the process. You were absolutely remarkable. And no, we talked about that a little bit along the way, about what you could do and wasn't something that you could do because it wasn't right for you. And I thought that was such a meaningful part of the experience. It was difficult, and at the same time, it was very rewarding because our friend needed to be in a place where she could thrive. And now she is. And, sometimes that cycle of change is very difficult to work through, and we did. And congratulations to you, Marion, for all that you did during that period, not only to help, but to help yourself.
Thank you. And you and our third friend, Phyllis Meliato, said I could mention her.
Oh, good, good. I'm glad she allowed you to do that.
Yeah, well, you know what? We are a group, right? We are friends. We are what I always thought friends should be, totally supportive on all different levels and in all different ways. I'm also working on a children's program, and I'm also working on a mystery. Now, that is part of who I am. I'm like an orchestra leader, and so my sequel is my violin section. My trombones is my other section. And that's how I work. I never finish one book at a time or one project at a time. I do this crescendo. And that's how I get through things too. Maybe that's part of how I survive, but humor is huge. So may I say, I'd like to say something that Phyllis, our dear friend, she thrived in an extraordinary career as vice president in the tough cosmetic business in New York City, and is a seasoned, beautiful author. Her remark to me in an email about my book after she read it stays with me, and I want to share.
Of course.
My darling Marion, I just finished reading. Bravo. So well written and so inspiring. Proud to be your friend. This book deserves a wide readership.
Well, let's do what we can to broaden the wide readership. This book, Don't Say Crazy to Me, written by Marion Hoffman Koenig. And you can find it on Amazon. You can find it anywhere you get your books. And having read it myself and enjoyed it and was inspired by it, I highly encourage you to pick it up. This is Experience Over Expectation. I'm Mary McCorvey. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Mary.
You've been listening to Mary McCorvey's Experience Over Expectations podcast. Be sure to subscribe today on YouTube and Substack, or listen wherever you find your podcasts. Thanks for tuning in.